Boom.
We are live.
Got another great episode in store for y'all today.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Shooting the Shit, episode number 8. We almost at 10, man. Can you believe it? Um, we thank you for joining us for another episode. I am Lawrence Peterson, along with fellow host
Jeff P.
Jeff P. And hopefully we'll give you some insightful information as we do our interesting, eccentric discussions that we're so fond of. So we hope you guys enjoy. You guys got any questions? And then you want to comments you want to send out, let us know. We always look for new topics to discuss. Without further ado, let us begin.
All right. So without holding back, how did you find that thing that's been coming back to you on again, off again, or constantly in life? You know, that thing that's really a part of you. Like it's just part of your genetic makeup, your factory presets.
I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. Like,
Well, what is it?
I
Okay.
called it your beast, and it is plural, because most people tend to have more than one. You know, it's just the interest that you develop that seem to just always be there. And the reason I'm not sure is because usually it's always there, like as far back as you remember, but it's so subtle that you may not even recognize it. For example, I've always been into art. So I can remember my first memory. My first memory that I can recall is first grade I'm sorry, kindergarten. On the first day, I go there and you have school or whatever. But the distinct memory I remember was at the end of the class, they had us just, all right, here's free time. You guys can draw. They give us, I don't know if you remember those big blue pencils. Like, I think they're like number
Number
5
3?
or
Okay.
number 3. Yeah, they're big, fat pencils, And they give us those, and they give you a couple of sheets of paper. Everybody draw something. I, for whatever reason, drew Batman. So I
Greatest
think
superhero of all time, in my opinion. Right.
you might be right about that. I can't really question that. I suspect I probably saw that old Batman, the live action one. You remember? I can't remember the actor.
With Adam West.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I suspect that's probably how I knew who Batman was, because the cartoon and stuff I don't think was out. I don't know. The Scooby Doo cartoon with Batman and stuff was probably out too. But I remember drawing that, and I remember other kids being impressed by that. Even the teacher was like, "Oh man, that's pretty good." And it might have been that encouragement that was like, "Oh, I need to do this again." Like you get that feeling of somebody encourage you, it makes you feel good. So you like, "Oh, all right, I'm seeming to be pretty good at this. Nobody else seemed to be as good at this, so I'm gonna keep doing this." Now I might have been drawing before that. I don't remember, but that's the first memory, and that's definitely the first memory of drawing that I have, and that's always been there. I've always drawn. I've always read comics up until 3-4 years ago. Um,
So
and
you
now,
stopped 4 years ago?
yes, I've stopped 3 or 4 years ago. My interest slightly changed. So that's the other thing I think that can happen. You can be interested. You can be interested, and then the beast itself might change. So where I used to be highly into drawing, and I thought I was going to be a comic book artist, I actually went into painting and doing fantasy work, which is sort of like in the same realm as comics. If you think about it, like superheroes, that's fantasy. I like to do medieval type stuff, guys, horses, dragons, that kind of stuff. But all that is still within the realm of fantasy. So that's what I mean. Like, it's the same, and yet it's slightly mutated. So I suspect those things have, we got into them at a young age. I don't know how it manifests itself. It just seems to be. It could be as simple as you were watching something on TV and it caught your eye. You went to the store and you saw a toy. What made you pick this toy over the other toys you saw? So it's something that appeals to you, but again, it's so ingrained into you that you're just not even aware of it.
It's subtle.
It's subtle, yeah. It's very
But it's
subtle.
there. It's
But
ever
it's there,
right?
yes. I was thinking just this morning. I have a friend named Mark, and we used to play video games, and he was. I never forget this because I didn't know anybody who did it to his level. He did what we call munchkinizing. He would have to go through. He maxed out every character's stats. He finds every hidden item on the thing. Like he has to max everything out. And then that was, I don't know how many years ago. It was like 20 years ago. And I talked to him just this morning. He was telling me he was taking his library and scanning all of it and making it all digital. And he had done this with all his comic books. He was doing this with his novels. Anything that he wanted to replace physically, but he still wanted it. And if Mark, this dude has books and comics and everything for days. And it occurred to me, I'm like, that's something a part of him. There's some part of him that needs to max out everything. And I think it's the same thing. It's almost ingrained into his personality. He gets something. Oh, this is a tool. How can I maximize this? So I think it's something that most people have. It's just there, and it comes in many different forms. But I think it's there. I think you probably don't notice it. You have to stop, take a second, and look back. I don't know if you'll notice it as you go every day. You just have to stop and kind of reflect on stuff. Like they say, like you can put the pieces of the puzzle together looking back, but you can't really do it looking forward. So what do you think, like, some of your beasts might be?
You know what? When we're having a conversation not too long ago, you asked me about if somebody would pay me a large sum of money, would I stop training? Would I stop working out? Would I stop doing martial arts?
Mm-hmm.
And I instantaneously said no. And got me thinking about something else we had talked about. Like, you pointed out some things in my youth that I did: gymnastics, the martial arts, the military, a lot of different courses that I personally took for my own personal and professional development were in the aspects of the physical culture realm or the health realm or something of that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And it just got me, until you said something about it, I did all those things. I still enjoyed many of those things, but it was like, it has always been there. Like, as a youth, I'm not like a lot of kids, like the kids nowadays that can be on
Like a video game?
apps, yeah, and all that.
Okay.
I want to be outside until the lights came on. They had to be back on the porch,
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
playing any bounce or playing or two-hand tag football, whatever. And it was like, you're right. Like, ever since I've been into moving things, and so when you said that, what's a part of you, and how you found that beast, and you, yeah, it's been there.
I'd be willing to bet, as a kid, they probably say you can't sit still. Like now, people would say, "Oh, you ADHD or hyper something or another." Like, "Oh, we tried to sit this kid in front of this boring teacher and sit there for 8 hours, and he just won't do it. he is something wrong with him. It's like it's not that there's something wrong with him. He just may not be that kind of person.
Right.
You know, some people they think better when they moving, or they like to be physical. They like to be moving. Like me myself, if you tell me to stand still, you say, "All right, I'm gonna pay you a large amount of money, but all you gotta do is stand still and like just be at this register all day." I can't do it. I'm not that kind of person. Like I need to be moving. I need to be mentally stimulated. You know, like you need these are needs that just like your physical needs need to be met, you have to have nutrients, vitamins, minerals, all those things that for your body to function at its capacity. Um, you need those other interests to function as well.
True.
But you might not think about it like that, or society definitely doesn't stress it. But it's something I think people should really think about because I mean, if you think about society, go to work, get your money, give us the money, shut up. That's all society wants you to do. You're gonna go to work, you know, you got a family, and they want that money back. Come buy this, come buy that. Join the rat race. Get on the treadmill, get money, give money. Get money, give money. You know, but this might be some of the issues, you know, there's a large, especially today, there's a large thing about mental health issues. It could be somewhat connected to that. You know, each one of us are a unique individual. Each one of us have unique needs that need to be met. The beasts are just some of those needs. Like you have Maslow's hierarchy of needs that has like certain bottom level like
Physical needs,
physical
safety.
needs. Yeah, and it just
Right.
moves up. I suspect there's another internal needs pyramid of such that you got to meet too.
You know what? I can see a lot of that, and I think you brought up a good point. Until you sit back and you actually go and reflect on that, you're never really gonna know. Because until you said that, I'm like, huh? Let me see if I can apply that to myself. So, should we challenge them to do that too?
Yeah,
Do a personal inventory?
yes, a personal inventory. I like how you phrase that. This might be an exercise that some of you at home might want to try. You know, you want to take maybe a minute or two because most people don't really have a strong attention span these days. But if you got a second, maybe you're on the throne, or maybe you out walking,
You finish lunch early.
you finish lunch early,
Right.
whatever. Take a second to reflect on your life, starting back from now on to when you were a young child, and see what are those common things that have always been there that you may not have noticed.
Did you always want to do karaoke? Were you always trying to draw and color in the books?
Mm-hmm.
Were you always talking, trying to tell jokes? What other stuff? I mean,
You
there's plenty of
always
stuff.
wanted to be outside. You always wanted to be physically active.
We're cooking. We got a family member that has been cooking
Has
for
been
years.
cooking for years. Or maybe you're a social person. Some people are social butterflies. I'm not that kind of person.
Right.
But I would suspect Kim Kardashian is that kind of person. They just
It's in their nature.
It's
Their
in their
genetic
nature. They
makeup.
can social network like nobody's business. So yeah, I mean it's always there.
You brought up another good point when you're talking about society, how maybe that one model that they trying to force on most people that might be causing those mental health issues.
Mhm.
It, taking a look at that will one help you be like, all right, what about that model can you disregard? You know, how can you make yourself because I heard somebody say that God mass produced humans, but none of us are alike.
I like
Most
that.
of us got 2 arms, 2 legs, you know, head,
Mhm.
shoulders, and all that stuff, but even the fingerprint, completely different.
Completely
you know?
different.
Mass produced. Like,
Each one is unique.
right.
Huh.
So let me ask you this then. So we talked about what was that you identifying that beast that you saw in life, right? From back in elementary school, middle school, you were drawing, you were taking observation in the different mediums and forms of entertainment
Hmm.
up and now, right? So what other? Because you said beast with a plural,
Right.
right? So if that's one of them, what other ones do you have? Do they all converge on your main beast or?
Hmm. That's a good question. I'm not sure. In my case, I think it might, but I don't know, and I couldn't really speculate on somebody else.
Right.
Um, so for me, all right, I said before, I was always interested in comic books. I was always interested in drawing. Um, so drawing was definitely art, and I remember when I was young, seeing like a movie where a person was a painter. They were like paint portraits, and I remember thinking, man, when I get older, I want to learn how to do that. Um, in a simple kid fashion, but I don't know. This applies to adults too. I was thinking I want to learn how to do that because I can get beautiful women to sit naked.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, that's what fascinates, right?
Yeah, I can get beautiful women to sit naked for me, and I can paint them. And that's always been a thing as far as like admiration for the female form, um,
Admiration for beauty.
admiration for beauty. That is definitely correct. Um, so you have that. Now, I didn't paint until maybe 4 years ago. I was always intimidated. Excuse me. I was intimidated by color. So like I didn't really do colored pencils or anything like that. And then I didn't even think about paint. Like I was just like, oh, okay, that's just out of my league. I just didn't bother. Um, but I had other interests. I read comic books when I was about 18 or 19. Some of my friends used to always read novels, and the thought of reading a novel really had never crossed my mind because in school we used to have to read those, and they were not interesting at all. You
What
know,
they
these
think
are
some
the
boy?
classics, but I'm like, dude, this shit is not interesting. And but I kept seeing them read these novels, and I was like, look, let me give it a shot. And my one friend, he said, okay. He put 3 books out in front of me. All right. He said, look, pick from these 3 books and give it a shot. So it's 3 books, and I got nothing to judge by other than the cover. The one I chose had 3 figures on the cover. One of them had swords, and I'm like, okay, well, there'll be some battling, some sword play. I was always a fan of like King Arthur and Willow and stuff like that. So fantasy. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. That was the beginning of the end, dog. I mean, I from there on out, I read like no tomorrow. Now, what I didn't think about it was I had always been reading. I had always read comics. And I know you would think like, oh, well, comics that's not really reading. When you read enough comics, I assure you, your vocabulary expands, your imagination expands.
World
You get
knowledge,
your
right?
world, your you get so many vast storylines. I had been reading at that point. I had been reading comics for almost 17 years. So I was already reading, even though I didn't think about it in that way. So then that reading led to novels, which later led to nonfiction books. So you know what I'm saying? Like that's almost a quest for stimulation of the intellect. You know, so where I have one beast in my art, now I have another beast as far as the intellect. Like I needed intellectual stimulation, which has become YouTube now. Like I'm consuming interviews with things I would have never thought about. You know, I'm watching interviews with psychiatrists. I'm watching documentaries. I'm watching interviews with engineers. Like anything that even remotely sparks my interest, I'm on it. Like now, I think I have like a curious mind. Like if it's of remote interest, or it just sounds like really. Well, let me check that out. See that how that
Right.
works.
Why not?
Yeah,
Right?
like it's. I feel like I'm just constantly feeding, and it's all started for comic books when I was like 5.
You know what? As soon as you said that, because we talked about this before, when you read, it's like having a one-on-one conversation with the author.
Mm-hmm.
When you said that the comic books, it's not like most people think. Just whatever. It's you doing a whole bunch of, but it's not just one person's imagination that you've been introduced to a team of people's imaginations as well as the editors, right, and all that. Like, so that's a lot of different people having an impact that shape. I never would have thought about it like that.
I would argue that it can affect how you think. It could affect your sense of empathy. Because think about it. All right, let's say a comic book. Let's say you're reading an X-Men comic book, all right? And X-Men have to go against. It's not like a one-shot, one-issue comics. This is like a vast storyline. So you seeing an X-Men's point of view. You might be seeing the bad guy's point of view. And maybe there's a third party in there, their point of view. So usually if you read something from one point of view, that's a direct shot, okay? But now I'm getting the main point of view. I'm getting this point of view. I'm getting this point of view. Now I can think in a circular fashion. Now when I approach somebody and I need to do business or I need to do whatever, I can not only be like my needs. I can be like your needs and his needs. All right. Well, I want to achieve this. How can I give you what you want to give him what he want, so that we can all get what we want? Instead of just saying it's about me and if you can't help me, get the fuck out of my way. I go to the next guy. You know what I'm saying? Like it broadens the way you think.
Right.
And like I said, of course the vocabulary extension, your imagination, like you wouldn't think about it, but it helps you grow on such a humongous
The
level.
person has telekinesis. Like, right. First of all, the word to be able.
First of all, the word,
Then
yeah.
what kind of ways could they use that power? Right. It's like I see that. Right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
So I mean, all those are just that stimulation, and all that is just growth. And like I said, these things started off small, but they all became vast. Almost like that's why I like the term beast, because let's say an animal is born like a little pup or something. It's small, like even like a human baby. It's small. You got kids. Your son, when you first had him, he's very small. Now, he can walk. Wait, actually, do your son walk?
He's getting there.
He's getting there. All right, so he's
Assisted walking.
assistant walking, okay? But when you first got him, he wasn't doing none of that.
He's laying there.
Yeah, just laying there. You know what I'm saying? Trying to hold his head up. Now he hold his head up. He can move his arms. So it's the same thing with your beast. It's growing to the extent that even though it was so small and insignificant, you didn't know its value when you started. It expanded. Now it's a full grown. I don't know if it's ever stopped growing, so I don't really want to use the term full grown, but you know what I mean. It's manifested to a point that, depending on your age, it's so much a part of you don't realize it, but it's made you a much stronger and more interesting person because your beasts are unique to you. So these things help us develop into who we become as a person. But the downside of that is if you neglect these things, I don't think it goes well. I don't think it's going to end well. I think you end up going into a hell of your own making, and you know, maybe you could end up in substance abuse or so many other things, you know. I just think it takes you down a dark road. And the problem is, you might end up feeling like you got to neglect this. Well, I got responsibilities now. And people will tell you, oh, you got to put that childish stuff aside. You got responsibilities now. But you still got to nurture yourself no matter what it is you're doing in life. I mean, you're not an animal who's just you're born to work. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, we got a horse and we train him and he pulls stuff or whatever. That's
You're
not
more
you.
than the oxen.
You're
Right.
more than the oxen, yeah. So you have to maintain your own needs by feeding those beasts. And like you might hear might tell you financially, pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. The reason I say that is if you say, all right, I got this amount of money, well, I got to pay this bill, I got to pay that bill, I got to pay that bill. And then when it all gets left over, whatever's left, I'm going to pay me. But you prioritizing everybody else above yourself. So you was always going to end up with the least. So like that, in reference to your beast, you have to say, all right, my beast must be fed. I ain't necessarily saying you got to say, my beast must be fed before I go to work or before my kids are taken care of. But it is necessary that you take care of yourself.
Right.
And if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else anyway.
Don't self-neglect yourself. If you don't feed your kids, what happens? If you don't feed that beast, it doesn't die. It just gets more miserable and weakened, which weakens the rest of your capacity.
Yes. So I think that potentially could lead to depression. It could lead to some mental health issues. Because imagine you say, you know what, I'm going to put this aside and focus on this because this will give me more money. Okay? And now you focus on the more money. But let's say you're on social media, and as we all know on social media, everybody look like they're a millionaire. So everybody appears to be doing much better than you. Even though you don't know their life, you see them on, they got a shitload of money. They doing the money phone thing, you know, or I got this new car or whatever. And you like, man, I gave up this for the money, and now the money ain't even worth it because everybody's still doing better than me. So now, what did you get out of that? You know what I'm saying? Now you just kind of feel like, well, I'm living life, and I'm getting nothing out of life. And everybody's feeling better. Everybody looks like they're doing better than me. You know, that's not a good place to mentally be in.
Right.
And that kind of stuff leads you down dark roads. So I think you have to nurture and feed your beasts, and they will always, I think, make you feel good about yourself. You know, you will always get that enjoyment out of it. Those things are, they may not be something you can show off financially, although sometimes you can convert them to financial things. But you at least feel good. You feel like you accomplished something. You feel like you at least made yourself happy. You know.
So, as you're saying that, you said the word beast, and I'm thinking about those different things that you do in order to tame it, to feed it, to, you know, if it's really a beast, it's trying to get out, right? It's trying to get out the cage. It won't go on to walk around the block. You know, it want to show off. I mean, and if it's really your thing, maybe at the beginning you might not be as good as you want to be, but you take that beast on enough walks, right? You feed it good. You know what I'm saying? You keep it. Oh, this what you want? You want to play with it? I don't know, this little pet ball or whatever. You go through your training, do your reps, right? You read your books, you do your whatever you got to do. But also maybe think of this. You call it a beast. In order to find, it made me think of Medusa, and this is the reason why.
Okay.
The beast, it got a bunch of different heads, a bunch of different ways that you come back to it. You increase your knowledge, right? Your skill set, your proficiency, whatever it is that you're trying to do. But also, sometimes when you look at, don't turn to stone. Don't you get a little intimidated by it?
Yes.
Don't you get a little, damn, I do it tomorrow. Like, man, they're going to say no. I know they're going to say no, and that makes you not want to pick up the phone.
Yes.
That makes you not want to go do that thing, right? But what happens when that person picks up that mirror and flashes at Medusa, and you defeat that one thing, and they go to the next thing? But Medusa got a bunch of different heads. So when you say taming it, I can see that. Because I don't want to kill it. I want it there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I might need to turn that against my enemy. Using your aggression, your anger, your rage, or whatever, and manifesting that positively towards you. So when you said that, yo, beast. And when you say, you specifically said this, plural. Bridget, I was thinking, oh, all my stuff is just physical. But you're right. It's a bunch of different avenues. Because lately, I've been looking at something completely left field. You would say this to me a year or two ago. Like, nah, man. Look, man, I ain't never doing that. Yoga. I've been looking at yoga. Exactly. Yoga surprisingly has so many different things. I like the philosophy. I like when I be talking about the only thing in the world that we can control is ourselves. The only thing we can master control in the world is ourselves. And that is so freaking hard to do. That's the whole purpose of yoga. And not only that, yoga is not just about the stretch. I didn't know that either. I mean, it's so, but here's the thing. As I'm learning more and more about that, I'm going down that rabbit hole. Like, all right, I'm exploring. Let me see what, like you said. All right, I'll open it up. I'll read for 5 minutes. Let me see. All right, I'll see what this video is talking about. It's only 3 minutes, 10 minutes, it's 15 minutes, whatever. But I started hearing other people's stories, right? Other people's ideas, other people's ways of looking at it and relating to it. And this one guy, he's an athlete. And I like him because he's smart. But he says something that I experienced in the martial arts. He said he went to do a yoga class with his wife. And the yoga teacher saw him walk in. I was like, oh, here's this big football player, right? So she walks up to him, and he's saying, like, as he's hearing her talk, he can hear the kind of, hear her talking down to him, like, so how much experience do you have? I did 1 or 2 classes. Little did she know, he lived in Kathmandu for a couple years, and he's a physical therapist, right? So he's doing a class. He's like, don't worry about me. I'll just be in the back, right? Don't even got to worry about me. And he says, class going on, all of a sudden, he's one leg, He was like, oh, good job in the back. Do another thing, right? Oh, I'm standing in the back. They're like, wow, you're on fire in the back. And everybody in the front of him is looking like, what's going on back here, right? And here's the point of the story. He says this. He was like, surprisingly, he's going through these motions like, this pose is similar to the snatch. This pose is similar to the squat. This pose is similar to the push-up. And it got me thinking, like, in martial arts, as I see people doing stuff, even if they're in different martial arts, I'm looking at, I reference it against my textbook, my encyclopedia. It could be jiu-jitsu, it could be correct, whatever it is, but it's like, okay, it's a kick to the head. I might say he kicked with this part of his foot, or I might say that he went into this stance, he moved laterally. But it's being able to reference it, being able to break it down. And that beast that is yoga went from martial arts, it went from lifting weights, it went from just being physically active to like, here's another thing. And it's talking about the philosophy. Like you said, the intellect. I like being able to control and master my own. Here's another model from another group of people saying something on the lines. What else can I learn from you guys? Right? Maybe I won't follow your whole exact. I'm going to bastardize it and make it right for me.
Of course.
But what do you got? Educate me. I'm all ears. Right? I think that's the great way of looking at it and learning. So I'm glad you brought that up, dog.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about is like what I like to call the buffet mindset. Take what you want, leave the rest. that's a mindset that I just apply to life. You know.
You allergic to gluten, stay away from the buns, right?
Yeah.
More lobster for you.
Yeah. I mean, so many people. If you ask them, that's not how that's done. Nobody does that. You know, they got this structure that is defined by somebody else that they feel like they gotta conform to. That's what it's gotta be. You know, but I feel for me, and it sounds like for you, a more open minded approach works a lot better. You know, all right, you want to pitch me something or you want to tell me something or whatever it is you're trying to sell me on. All right, that's cool. Okay. And I'm going to take all that information in. Now, if I'm taking it in, I'm thinking, that's good. That's good. Nah, I don't know about that. That's good. So it's like at the buffet line. Yeah, let me get some of this chicken. Ooh, I like these rolls. Let me get some rolls. Cabbage. Now I'm good on the cabbage. Let me grab some of these Brussels sprouts though, and maybe a little corn. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it ain't. It's not really a this thing. It's just I'm not really interested in
It's
that,
not for
or that
you.
doesn't work for me. It's not for me.
Right.
If that works for you, more power to you. You know,
Well,
people feel like it's got to be a either or thing. You either 100% over this or not at all. And it's just like, no, it doesn't really have to be like that, you know. And with an open mindset, there's no telling where you can go, where you can grow with that.
every time we talk, you spark off little different ideas about different things that they've heard, read, or right or observed.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite movies of all time is Forrest Gump. I think it's just an awesome. I know. Watch
A
it
lot of
again.
people love
That
Forrest,
is an
man.
awesome man. That's an awesome damn movie. But anyway, he said this one thing, and I don't know why it stuck in my head, but it made sense as soon as he said it. I was like, huh, you damn right. He was talking at the beginning of the movie. He was like, he was telling a story about something he remembered. He was like, I don't now. Why do we remember this? And I can't remember that, or I don't remember where I was my 15th birthday, or what I had for dinner 2 nights ago. But certain things just stick in your head, and it was like we can have a conversation, maybe only one or two things. Like, it's just a change. I heard everything you said, but something's like, I'm gonna go toss that around a little bit more, or it might kickstart onto something else, right? Or it might lead to, man, I've been going through something all week. I was like, he said something about that, and ever since that little idea of why do you remember certain things, I can't tell you what I had last Tuesday. I can't tell you what I had 2 nights ago for dinner, but what I can tell you, when you brought up that, I was like, yeah, I remember learning the round off, the cartwheel, right? Forward somersault. I remember the first time I couldn't do pull-ups. I remember how hard I worked to be able to do 3 pull-ups just to do the bare minimum. Like, but that was a huge achievement for me. I used to be, man, walk down the basement, like, man, every time I go down there, get on the ceiling and pull yourself up. Man, I remember the first couple times, fuck that shit, that hurt the hands. Man, I don't want to do that. And I'll go down the basement, I'll run down the stairs, right? Run past, and then it start, man, do them pull-ups, man. What you gonna do when you go in there? You're not gonna make it, right? And I'm doing them. They will hurt the fingers bad. But you wanna know something?
What?
Sooner or later, I was thinking about it again. I was like, oh man, I almost made it to the top. So you know, it was like, oh snap, I can get all the way up, but that just dropped down. It was like, I can go all the way up, come all the way down. I got 2, right? No longer think about the fingernails. Don't even have to go down in the basement no more. I'm going to walk the beast. I'm going to pat some of the little extra snake heads come out of Medusa. Whatever it is. It's like, kept working with it, and it got better. And that helped lead to other times where I got to smile. I got to be happy. I got to try different things that challenge me. And so you said that it really does make sense.
I was thinking about that when you were talking about Medusa. You were like, so she's got multiple heads, and then all right, you go look at the head, so you flip the mirror up, so it, it doesn't hit you. It kills her one of her heads, and I was thinking about that, and it's like applying that to the beast. I think that's true. Like I've had several cousins or just people I come across that will see me and be like, "Oh man, I really want to learn how to draw." And I'd be like, "Look, you can draw. Anybody can draw." It was like, "All right." So then they try it or whatever. So the first step was just getting them to try it. But then they be like, "Well, I can't draw stick figures." And we like, "Look, you'll get there. Here's how you approach it, and maybe you want to start by copying something you see. Then you can start drawing out of your head." So then they be like, "All right, that's cool, but I can't draw as good as you." And then I'm trying to explain to them like, "Well, I've been drawing a lot longer than you, so you're gonna have to work up to that." And a lot of times that's where people quit. Like, well, if I can't draw as good as you, I don't want to do it. Or I've even seen it where people have been drawing a long time, and then they come across some person, and they're like, "This guy's amazing. I'm out. I know I'll never be as good as this guy. I'm done." You know, I think Picasso's no, not Picasso. Yeah, Picasso's father. He said at 7 year old, Picasso drew something. His father had always drawn, and he said he saw his son, 7 year old, draw something. He quit drawing. That was it. Done. My 7 year old just did something that was amazing. I'm out. And I'm saying that to say each one of these things, like you're saying with your pull ups, is a small challenge that you have to meet. And maybe the more higher you go, those challenges might get bigger, but I don't think they ever really stop. They might change. Like you say, you got multiple heads. So the one challenge that you met won't be the next challenge you met later on, Sort of like when you play a video game and you going through and you jump in or whatever, you dodging this, and then what happened when you get to the end of the stage? Now you gotta go against the boss.
All right.
All right? But then after you do that a couple of times, now you go against the mega boss, the big
Right.
boss. You know what I'm saying? Like you're working your way up in levels. So I think with your beast, I think it's the same thing. Like I said, I was intimidated by color. I didn't color. I didn't do really anything with color. I always just drew. And then when I got to the point where I was like, I'm gonna paint, I was like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, cause you need color. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. It's gonna look bad, but I'm just starting to paint, so it's gonna look bad even if it wasn't with color. So I said, all right, I'm gonna step out here and do it. And I just tried to get whatever information I could, always looking for new information about how to get better. And I remember exactly how I felt because I was eager to do it, but I was bad at it. Like
Okay.
I could draw a lot better than I can paint. I knew instantly. I was like, man, this is bad. And I remember thinking about it a lot because when you don't know how to do something, you just running it through, trying to figure it out, running it through. And I remember I had a thought of how it felt that always lingered, like what I thought always stayed with me. I was describing it to a friend, and I was like, I'm gonna tell you what it feels like. It feels like you walking in the dark. You cannot see anything ahead of you. You're walking in the dark, total darkness. But when you turn around, you can see your footprints.
Okay.
Okay, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to run into as I go forward, and what kind of roadblocks I'm going to have to go over. I can't see any of that, but I can look back and see how far I've come, how far I've grown, what I've gotten better at, and that always stayed with me. And that was like one of my biggest challenges right at the beginning of painting, and then I remember going from that being excited, even though I knew it was horrible, to being excited, but now decent, you know, which turned into when I went to bed, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do when I get up. Like it's like you know how you dread going to bed. You're like, I don't really want to go to sleep. I gotta sleep. Like, well, for me, I'm not a fan of sleep. I hate sleep because I feel like it's time I could be doing something, but I have to sleep. Everybody has to sleep. So I hate going to sleep, but just the only time in my life where I'm amped and anticipating going to sleep because I've read something. I usually read something on painting or just got finished painting, and it's like, all right, I'm eagerly going to sleep. And when I go lay down, I'm trying to focus my mind to think about painting, think about what I just learned, anything painting related.
Right before you go to bed.
So yes, and I'm so hungry to get up the next day to get back in the studio and paint. I've never felt like that in my life. Like I can't really describe. It's like it was like the only thing I wanted to do in life. Like if I could have, you ever feel like you just want to be left alone to do what you love?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel myself getting excited now talking about it.
I
Like
can see it.
I look, put me in the studio and leave me alone. I'll see you next week. Like
Slide the tray underneath the door, right?
yes, slide it under the door. Like I'll get to it eventually. Just slide it under there. Like when you lose track of time, you're doing what you do and you look up and you like, oh shit, it's 3 o'clock in the at night. Like when you just that into it.
See, they say that's one of those signs that you can know that you really into something or you really committed on something when you go from that Newtonian time to the Einstein time. That Newtonian time is, all right, I got to spend 20 minutes in here typing out 200 words, right? As opposed to that person that born writer, or like you saying, you inside the studio, yeah, all right, I'm gonna go in there for 30 minutes this morning, and then I'm gonna rush off to work. And then it'd be 45 minutes, an hour later, like, damn, all right, I'm gonna hurry up and do. I'm
But
just
you
laughing one
you
time.
trying to get that
and
extra
get out.
minute. You trying to get
Right.
that. All right, hold up. All right, I gotta go. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Like that. That's the best feeling in the fucking world,
It
man.
is.
Oh,
And when you can find those things, you don't want to let them go.
you don't want to
You
let him
don't.
go.
No.
You don't want to let him go. And every second is like just waiting to get back to it. Just waiting to get back to it. So yeah, and like to me, that's when I'm fully immersed in my beast. Like I'm just when you just won, you just into it like that.
So let me ask you this then.
Uh-huh.
Now that we know what's your beast and that thing that's really been a part of you
Mm-hmm.
in the long run, and we didn't already challenge them to do their own personal self inventory, right? What's the actual difference between having a vision and just dreaming?
Mm.
How could that affect somebody? How will they know that they just dreaming as opposed to they chase down a vision?
Well, I would say the two things are related, and I would say if anything, maybe there are levels. Maybe you have an idea, a dream, and then a vision, and which equates to level one or level two and then level three. Maybe you had an idea to say, all right, when I grow up, I don't know, I wanna do something physical. Maybe I'll work in a gym, or maybe I'll coach boxers, or maybe I'll be on a basketball team. All right, that's an idea. It's a seed. All right, then maybe that seed becomes, man, I wanna work out a lot. I wanna work on my hands. Like I know I want to do something in the physical realm, and I know I don't want to do something where I'm like doing sales or whatever. So I'm focused on the physical realm, and all my daydreams, all my focus is like, yeah, when I get here and this is what I want to do, and this is how it's going to be, and here's an idea on how to do this, here's an idea on how to do that, which then becomes the vision. The vision, I think, is where everything becomes a plan, a coherent thought. You know, it's still one and two, but now everything is structuring together. So where you might have had this, now everything aligns to one. So you're saying, all right, I know I want to do something physical. You know what? I know I want to train people. You know what? I've been training people, lifting weights, but now I think I want to train them in martial arts too. Maybe I can combine these two things. All right, I want to train them out of my house, and then I'm going to turn that and make that into getting maybe a small storefront. Then that's the idea, and then I can make sure I work that out financially. That I can go from a small storefront to a huge gym. Then once I get my gyms done, which is going to be like a couple years after, I want to turn that into a big company or a big megaplex. But that's like 10 years out. So now you structuring things out as a plan, and it's still being flexible, but it's having a direction of going. You know, that's the way I think about it. What do you think?
For me, I think the difference is gonna be the vision, like you said. It's that short term to the long term. Overall, what do you actually vision happen, or what do you actually see happening?
Mm-hmm.
What are you trying to forecast and future predict?
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, that Medusa could come out, you know, that beast. You try to go do it, you pull out your mirror to go one way or to try to go off another way. It's just another head over there, right? It's gonna be different challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you get past one, got past it, they going, what the right?
And sometimes it happen like that.
But you keep going, right?
But you keep going.
It's your beast. It's your beast. Either it's gonna be your beast or you gonna be its bitch, right? You can take your pick. That's why it's Medusa. But who wants to be the bitch's bitch? But all right, anyway, nah. So I think that vision is having that foresight, being able to forecast. What are you trying to future predict? What you, like you said, where are you trying to go? Whereas that, and then once you do that, taking those steps towards it. You failing forward. You failing fast. You failing often, right? You hooking and jabbing. You as the head try to turn, you still trying to broadside it, right? You trying to climb on top. You trying to bag it up. Trying to take it, put it on, whatever. You getting after it. The dreaming is having that vision, 1 year, 5 year, 10 years out, and just something you twiddle your thumbs on. You just, man, that would be nice. Man, only if. Man, you wouldn't believe me. I got this great idea, but nah, the world ain't ready for it yet. We can talk ourselves out of it.
Yeah.
So once again, we run into Medusa, and we look them dead in the eyes, and that's what we turn. So either you gonna tame your beast, or you'll be the beast's bitch.
Yeah.
So that's my difference between vision and a dream. Taking the action towards it, and
I see
then
what
the
you're
future
saying.
forecast it, and then to close in and engage on your enemy on your dream.
So what you're saying is almost the person never went past step 2. They never went past dreaming. They never focused it and became a vision.
They're the type of people that make the affirmations and then that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am mega rich.
Yeah.
And then you play lottery or you freaking you're not budgeting, whatever, right? You're not doing nothing towards it.
Right. I mean, it's
wishful thinking.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, like you said, like okay, it's always another challenge or another hurdle, and where you might have went all right, there go a hurdle, there go a hurdle. I'm still going, there go a hurdle. That guy might have went, there go a hurdle, there go a hurdle. Man, fuck it. And then he just stopped. You know what I mean? And he might have like excuses, be like, well, I got to this hurdle, man, and it can't be beat. Or I got to this hurdle and there was no way around it. And all right, but at the end of the day, the only thing you gotta justify is to yourself. It's really hard to bullshit yourself. Like if
Cause you know.
Cause you know, yeah, you might bullshit that guy, you might bullshit that guy, but you know when you lay down to sleep, like I said, when I'm going to bed and anticipating, when you lay down to sleep, you were like, you know what I mean? Even if let's say you can find a way to get away from it. Let's say you can drink it or you can smoke it. You can find a way to distract yourself or you try to throw yourself into something else. Even then, time's gonna pop up. You gonna know.
Mm-hmm.
You get clear headed enough, here you come again. You know you were supposed to jump that hurdle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like and I guess unless you get sick and tired of getting sick and tired, you're gonna wait there. And the hell of your own making, which slowly gonna descend down into the underworld. Like, man, what happened to Jeff, man? He used to be a super nice guy. Now he mean. You know, I heard he's doing heroin.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you be like, no, he wouldn't do no shit like that. That's my boy, man. He would never. But the slippery slope. How do you get to a point where, like, it always amazed me that we had crackheads after like '84. You'd be like, well, you see what crack does. After the information came out that even after you seen it, after the information that told you it is horrible for you, still had crackheads. And then you be like, well, how does that happen? But it's like
fucking Molly. Pop people.
Right? Yeah. But when you get to a point where you at so low, like it's like when you go, I think when you go to like, you got to do something in a courtroom or something like that, and or the police might ask you, do you understand everything? Are you in your right frame of mind? If you're going through stuff like that, you're not in your right frame of mind. You are like dealing with psychological issues you're trying to get away from. So where you might have made a decision in your right frame of mind, I would never do no shit like that. 3 levels down into the underworld, dealing with the shit you got to deal with.
Different world.
It's a totally different world. You make totally different decisions. You know.
It's what you said is no different than the person who's trying to negotiate a $50 pay raise. That person trying to negotiate a $5 million contract raise. All right.
Right.
They're 2 human beings, right? Mass produced, but uniquely different.
Yep.
And it's like, you're absolutely right. It's those hurdles. The hurdles that you have might be hurdles that somebody else have. The hurdle. The things that burn you up, that push your buttons, that fire you up, may not affect me, right? I say this to my old lady when we get in our arguments, and let's say she decides to, I don't know, go have some wine at night.
Mm-hmm.
And she come back in with the wine, like, you know what I say? 0% damage. Right? Like, it don't hurt me. Right? And I just been thinking about that stuff lately. Like, you know what? Hold up. The stuff that throw me off, kill through, or take me off, don't affect other people. They probably be, when you see somebody throwing a tent, like, man, chill out. But how many times have you been fired up? And somebody's like, man, relax, man. Even that deep, or just at that, like, at that point, in that moment, you're like, hell no, man. I'm not tolerating that. Somebody spit on you right now, you going upside their head, right?
Yes.
But if it was 1924 and you in Alabama, right? And there's a whole clan behind them.
Yeah.
Right? And it's still getting spit on. the hell, the environment. Now that is something you can't, like. But you get what I'm saying. Like it's
Right.
just different experience or different.
Right.
I get you.
And yeah, you're right. I mean that might be just a matter of your mental toughness, and at whatever given time.
Right.
Because you think when you go over those hurdles, you're growing, and in a lot of ways probably you can't even see. So you're getting tougher, you're getting stronger. You're able to deal with certain other stuff. So yeah, like you said, something that might have bothered. I'm sure there's something that might have bothered you when you were 18 that you probably would laugh if somebody did whatever it was that irritated you back then. You know what I mean? Like you've grown to such an extent, you'd be like, whatever, man. Like that's not even gonna bother my day. You know what I mean? Like
I was thinking about that earlier. I was taking a shower and I was like, oh, make sure you put on deodorant. I don't want to be training and be funky. Nobody wants to be training with somebody and they musty. But I think everybody's left out of the house where they forgot to put deodorant on, right? And had a little more strain or a little bit more effort we had to do than was usually expected, right? Like, what the heck? And it's like, I remember smelling other people like, man, I don't want to do that. But then when you do it at one time, like, all right, yeah, that's why you wear deodorant. But it got me thinking, like, man, you know what? In the military, they would make us do that. Like, nobody wants to train funky. Nobody wants to be around somebody else's funky.
right.
But they make you do a whole bunch of things that you don't want, work, sleep deprived, or whatever. I can't do that. Do I do that now? Fuck no. You know what I'm saying? But can I?
But
sure.
you could.
And that's what you had me thinking about. I think that's the same thing. Like, you can, when you want to, you should, and then sometimes people just don't.
I mean, I've heard Navy SEALs say, once you've gone through Hell Week, you feel like there's nothing you can't do, and I
Those
could
guys
see
are
why they
beasts.
would feel like that. Yeah, I mean, you like, look, I've accomplished something that was so difficult and had to not only physically but mentally grow to a certain extent that you feel like can't nothing touch you. You whatever. I need to go out and do this thing. All right. I need to go out in the freezing snow and do it. I ain't gonna like it, but I can do it. Like you now know you can call on those resources because you've grown to that point. You know you can do it. But same person never had those previous experiences. Be like, all right, now you got to go out in the weather and do that, and you be like, man, hell no, what the hell wrong with you? I would never do nothing like that,
The difference between a Navy SEALs versus a hired militia or a hired army, right? Like it's gonna be
Right.
completely different.
It's gonna be completely
Both
different.
of them got guns, but
Exactly.
they train for it and all. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, those experiences, those hurdles you got to jump, they improve you in ways you can't even imagine. But not making those jumps and not making those hurdles can also hurt you in ways you can't foresee. You might get knocked down, and maybe I don't see you, and then I run into you 2 years later. Man, what you been up to? How's your thing coming, man? Oh well, nah, this happened. That happened 2 years ago. You still on the ground, like ET said. If I come back, all right, yeah, you fell down. But if I come back 2 years later and you still on the ground, we got a problem. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, even if you got to go slow and even if you got to crawl, whatever, some progress can be made. That's the way I look at it. And that's all. We all got our own scale. We all got our own measurements. Like I said, you also know your measurements. You also know your scale. So at the end of the day, you ain't got to prove nothing to nobody except for you.
Can I offer another challenge for
Go
our
ahead.
viewers today? All right. So they got one to do the self inventory, right?
Mhm.
So that's the first one. I'm gonna offer a second challenge and declare and issue a second challenge statement. David Goggins, right? He said something because we were just talking about Navy SEALs and about doing stuff you don't want to do. His motto is, if it doesn't suck, then we don't do it. Right?
Okay.
And here's his thing. Every single day, he said, pick something that you don't want to do it and do it. Not everything, just one thing every single day that you don't want to do. You don't want to send that letter off that you've been posting. You don't want to send that email response off that you've been putting off. It's time to pay the bills. You've been putting it off. I'm doing it on Thursday. And that was last Tuesday you said that, right?
Right.
Uh, you don't want to have that tough conversation with your employee, with your significant other, whatever. Do one thing that you don't want to do it, right? It's going to make it a better while you. That's one. And then two, you push yourself. You wasn't going to do that, right? And you don't got to do everything, but I like the model because you're going to be surprised where you're going to be a year from there just doing little small leads to big, once again.
I agree. I agree with that. Because I know certain things just have reactions. Like, if you are too agreeable of a person. So, basically, what that means is you have a tendency to kind of go with the flow. All right? So, whenever somebody says something and maybe they said something that was wrong, it's incorrect, and you knew it was incorrect, and you didn't voice a objection, you just, all right, well, that's what that person wants to do, then I'm going to roll with it, even though I know it isn't correct, and I know we're going to run into this problem down the road. I'm not going to object. I'm just going to do it because that's what they want to do. You know, then after so long after doing that, you almost become somewhat spineless. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like
You turned yourself into that.
You turn yourself into that. What you do is feeding something always. So if you're not feeding something positive or something that's going to make you stronger, you're going to feed something negative or
By
something
default.
that's going to make you weaker by default. So everything you do, you may not think about it, it's always doing something, turning you into something in the future. You know, those small steps, you're going to end up somewhere. You know, you take 1,000 steps, you ain't gonna end up in Beijing, but eventually you're gonna be somewhere far away from here, you know. So yeah, I agree with that, and I've seen examples of that. I know plenty of people I think are just too agreeable, and you will find they will answer questions quickly without giving thought. They will almost have no opinion. They you can't really trust their judgment because you're like it's not based on anything. But the opposite is true. Not for you to be overly disagreeable, but when you speak up, when you think something's wrong or might be incorrect, you find that you grow stronger as a person. So when you need to be able to enact something, or when you need to, all right, I got to go in this room and tell this guy and pretty much his entire board that they're incorrect and this is the correct course of action, you'll be strong enough to do that because you've already done that thousands of little times, that when you need to make that big leap or you need to make that big decision, you'll be strong enough to do it, you know. So I agree. Like, doing something you don't like to do every day, yeah, all right, it's something small. But when you get to that big thing that you might have to do, but you really don't want to do, it's gonna be a lot easier to do it. And that's something you want to have in your toolkit. All right, I gotta do this thing. I don't want to do it, but I need this, and it's gonna be better for the family, so I'm going to do it.
It's better than bleeding training than to bleed on the street.
Yes, exactly. It's better to bleed the training than bleed on the street. All right, you go in training. Oh man, I don't like to train. Sometimes I'm rough. I get all sweaty. This, that, whatever. All right, don't train. Then you get in a conversation.
Knock your block off.
Knock your block off. So I mean, yeah, I agree.
It sounds barbaric, but it's like, yeah. All right.
You want to wrap it up?
I think we hit a lot today.
I think we hit a lot too.
We got a lot more for y'all too. This is
Yeah.
only episode what, 7? 8?
7?
7?
No, this is episode 8, I think.
8. Okay.
So, thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Shooting the Shits. This has been a really interesting topic, I think, just to explore. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as we have, and hope that we can provide some intellectual stimulation discussion. And hope to see you guys again. And again, drop us a line, anything you want us to discuss, talk about, what have you. Thanks for coming. Hope to see you again.
Boom.